Hi everyone, this is Nikki Yu, also known as Faces Trader for the Awesome10X Philippine Market Update. For this Monday, we have decided to actually do 1 hour or 30-minute deep dives for you in the Philippine companies so that you can deeper acknowledge and better appreciate the companies that you want to own for your next 5 to 10 years in the Philippine market. So today we are going to discuss this April 26, 2021, a preview of NIKL Asia Corporation. The category would be commodities, mining, renewable energy, battery electric vehicles, and the Philippine market. So NIKL Asia, NIKL. So you could see that it has an atomic mass of 58.693. It is the 28th element in the periodic table, and it's a silvery white metal. So it's a naturally occurring metallic element, silvery white, shiny appearance. It's actually the fifth most common element on Earth and extensively occurs in the Earth's crust and core. Nickel, along with iron, is a common element in meteorites and can even be found in small quantities in plants, animals, and seawater. Although the concentration of nickel in the Earth's crust is 80 parts per million, the Earth's core consists mainly of a nickel-iron alloy. So it is a transition metal, an atomic number of 28, dislocated in the fourth periodic row on the table of elements, an essential nutrient in all of our bodies, but its intake overdose can cause harm. Humans can get infection by breathing in or infected air or drinking such water or eating such food or smoking cigarettes. Too much nickel consumption can cause lung cancer, nose cancer, larynx cancer, and prostate cancer. The most usage of nickel is actually on making coins, wires, gas turbines, rocket engines because it resists corrosion even at high temperatures. It's also been used in armor plating, nails, pipes. Monel, alloys of nickel and copper, is a hard compound that can resist corrosion by seawater. Hence, it's being used as a propeller shaft in the boats and desalination plants. Nickel is a good conductor of heat and electricity. That's why your cell phones actually contains nickel. It's bivalent, that is, it has a valency of 2. The metal will dissolve slowly and dilute acids. Its boiling point is 2,913 degrees Celsius. Its melting point is 1,453 degrees Celsius. Now, most of the world's nickel supply can be mined in the Sudbury region of Ontario, Canada. It's very much believed that this large deposit of nickel ore was a result of an ancient meteor impact, something like millions of years ago. Nickel is a hard corrosion-resistant metal, and right now this is what it looks like in Sudbury region of Ontario, Canada. The Sudbury Basin is a ring of low hills with Sudbury on the south rim. It follows the outline of the Sudbury Nickel Eruptive. It's a unique and remarkably complex geological structure. The mines are situated around the outer rim of this boat-shaped basin making most of the world's nickel, platinum, palladium, and related metals. Large amounts of copper, gold, tellurium, selenium, and sulfur make up many kinds of this igneous rock, forced while still molten into a roughly concentric arrangement some 1,700 million years ago. This basin is 37 miles long and 17 miles wide. These rocks and the minerals of the ore deposits probably had a common source deep within the Earth's crust. So you can see that these are the effects of nickel in everyday use. So already discussed that it's in its pure form. All of your stainless steel products, magnets, rechargeable batteries, electric guitar strings, plating on plumbing fixtures. These are for industrial and consumer products. Most of your houses perhaps have steel. So nickel is actually mainly used for stainless steel. They combine it with steel. So it's very rarely used in its pure form. It's usually combined with iron, chromium, copper to produce alloys that are very much superior to the individual metals. It's used as an alloying element in cast irons, steels such as austenitic stainless steel, non-ferrous alloys which are applied to more challenging applications. So as of the world's use case for nickel, 68% is used in stainless steel. When you see your plumbing fixtures, such as when you're washing your hands, That is actually stainless steel. That is one of the use case of nickel. Nickel is literally your nickel coins. So in the US, the 25 cents, the 10 cents, the 5 cents, all of those have nickel inside. Your batteries have it. So it's 3% of the world's use case for these types of batteries. Your cutlery, when you're eating, you might not have known, but your spoon and fork and knife actually is coated with nickel. So plating, alloy, stainless steel. Your kitchen appliances, you're using a stainless steel pot or pan casting. Batteries, others. So wind turbines and engines. The nickel is used in more than 300,000 products, whether you acknowledge it or not. It's used for consumer use, industrial use case, military, aerospace, architectural applications, major use case of nickel, especially in manufacture of stainless steel. So mobile phones, even cars are using it, nickel-coated cutlery, jet engines. So there's plenty of ways, but currently these are your most basic use cases of nickel. So far, 68%, 66% is still nickel. So you could see it in all. Stainless steel is the largest component use case for your use of nickel. So in the earlier times, because they were still knight and shining armor, when you say my knight in shining armor, that shining armor is actually nickel steel. So long history of being used in coins. So all of these can be seen in many graphics. In the US, the dimes, quarters, 50 cents are still made out of copper nickel alloy. Nickel coin quite aptly contains the most nickel at 25%. That's the 10-cent coin of nickel, of US, while the other coins are 8.33. A penny is 1 cent, a nickel, tama ba? Sorry, nickel is 10 cents or is it 25 cents? Apparently, as you know, I'm not quite used with the US currencies. Penny, nickel, and dime. Dime is 10 cents ba? Is nickel a quarter? Actually, I don't know. But basically, coins have nickel. So you could see the toasters, your electric ovens. Those are because it is it can resist corrosion even with heat, even when red hot. It's being used in your toasters, electric ovens, desalination plants. When you are trying to convert seawater into fresh water, you're using a copper nickel alloy. So it's a combination. Other alloys of nickel are used in both propeller shafts and turbine blades. I like to say that it's used in building and infrastructure, communications, energy supply, environmental protection, and food preparation. It's highly recyclable, 100% recyclable, hygienic, corrosion resistant, and very tough. I needed to explain all these use cases so that you better appreciate and understand the entire nickel market. Now, this is a very good 1-hour report by Mr. Jim Lennon. He's the managing director of Red Door Research, and he's a part-time consultant for nickel and stainless steel analysis of Macquarie Capital Europe. I'm going to discuss to you what he reported in the EMEA 1-to-1 mining investment. It was an online webinar. You can check it out as well. You can watch it on YouTube. I'm going to tell you the highlights of this one. So wait. So his overview, what I took out some highlights. So basically, COVID-19 had a negative impact on your nickel supply and demand, with market shifting from deficit to actually a surplus of nickel. However, nickel prices have held up well due to the strong Chinese stainless steel recovery. It's actually right now about 16,000 per metric ton. Strong rise in also Indonesian nickel production is weighing heavily over the nickel market in 2021. Now, however, this is the biggest opportunity, but the major impact is probably within 2025 or 5 years from now. That would be the growth in the nickel use case for batteries, but the industry will need to invest now so that they could meet that demand post 2025. And that demand cannot just be met by simply Indonesia. So as you could see, from January 19 to September, October 2020, this is how your prices, your LME London Metal Exchange cash prices for your nickel prices. You could see from 11,000 to 19,000 or within a range of 100%. There was a speculation early July 2019 on an Indonesia ore ban. such as an Indonesian ore ban would increase the price of nickel, and so that increased it to as high as 18, 19,000. When the good news was announced, naturally the market prices fell. That is what you call a typical sell on good news. The COVID-19 in China further plunged it further to about 11,000 during March 2020, which is actually the trough for your nickel component worldwide. And with the recovery in China in a very fast pace around June 2020 and until today, China is continuing to grow. That's the reason why nickel has still stayed above $16,000 per metric ton. So that's basically the story of your nickel in the last 2 years. Recovering in a V shape, but basically we have to understand, will nickel break 18,000 or will that sell on good news in 18,000 be a double top for 2021? So it's a matter of understanding the factors. Why did steel go up? Key reasons why steel is the most, stainless steel is the one that matters for now, because 70%. So everybody knows that 75% or 70% in the world's stainless steel production is coming from China. So, and because the use case of China, as I said, is in stainless steel, this is the domination market or the use case. That's the melt-in production. Take note how many millions of metric tons low scrap use on stainless, and then the high scrap use of stainless. This is the world ex Indonesia and China, and this is Indonesia and China. You could see that the entire demand comes from Indonesia and China. This is where the entire stainless steel consuming 1.7 million metric tons, primary nickel, another 965,000 tons of nickel and scrap. So far, when we're talking about batteries, it's still from 3% rising to 7%. Around 170,000 metric tons of nickel is being used today in batteries. So far, stainless is still 10 times bigger than batteries. And as a result of COVID-19, the demand in the non-ferrous alloy steel plating has been hit hard. The other ones were down 20%. Stainless steel production forecast for the next 2 years. Let's take a look. In the US, they're saying a rise. Japan, it's a rise. Europe, it's a rise. Korea, it's a rise. Taiwan, drop. India, a strong rise. China, still a rise. Indonesia, still a rise. So obviously 50,000 to 54,000, the total. And then total ex-China in Indonesia is something like this. So really, China is the biggest component when it comes to stainless steel. So that's where the percentage is being seen. So approximately, the world will still need about 6% or 9% total steel production for stainless steel for 2021. Now, if we can actually see a stronger recovery in the world, then it's possible that stainless steel is actually a reflection of your growth in the in the stainless steel demand. Summary of outlook from deficit to surplus. This is what you could see from 2021 all the way to 2022. So until 2025, they're saying that we could still have a surplus of nickel supply, given that the percentage change and the total demand is looks like this. You're seeing actually that the Indonesian HPAL production will increase your metric tons, 130,000 KTPA, which will feed into the NISO for output in Indonesia and China. So deficit this year of 147,000, 32,000 kilotons in 2021, despite a strong demand recovery. So we're still actually in a place where we it means that Macquarie actually still sees that the commodity such as nickel can actually still stay in that $19,000 zone. 16,000 can still remain, 16 to 18,000 until 5 years from now. That's their expectations. However, this is something that you will have to understand. In the next 10 years, we are in the early stages of market development. Take note that Tesla announced a 3,000 gigawatt hour investment by 2030. That would be for their battery. That's something that they announced in their Tesla Battery Day. But the world lithium ion mega factory capacity is already looking like this. So we're going to see an increase in the use case of nickel, primarily because of the growth in your BEVs, battery electric vehicles. The sales of electric vehicles is the growth component of nickel, growing strongly even after the COVID slowdown. Take note that for the next 5 years, you're seeing that the world EV sales will transition to a lot of electric vehicles, and therefore your consumption in the battery will keep on doubling and doubling over time. So many countries have already introduced this incentive to go green. Strategies will be accelerated. So we might see about a pure shift, an 80 to 20 pure EV to PHEV split by in the next 5 years. So this is what the demand looks like in terms of world sales of EV, about 10 to 20 million in the next 5 years. Nickel use forecast will grow by then from about 138,000 metric tons, about 800,000 metric tons, something equivalent to almost 4 to 5x or 6x, and that would be equivalent to 50% of your stainless steel metric tons today. So that would be a huge chunk that's gonna grow in the next 5 to 10 years. The biggest driver for your nickel use case is, of course, batteries. If the total needs would outstrip the supply, demand greater than supply, that's when you will see that entire deficit happening. So in the next 10 years, it's up to that. Meanwhile, stainless steel, if the growth production in the next 5 to 10 years is just going to be 620,000 tons of nickel. So the biggest growth is actually batteries. So where will the nickel will come from this electric vehicle revolution? The estimates are said that it's coming from crude nickel sulfate, recycled scrap, mixed nickel, intermediates from HPAL, mixed nickel cobalt sulfide from bioleaching, integrated mining nickel ore to refining of nickel sulfate, class 1 nickel metal and powders, mainly coarse nickel powders, nickel oxides, volume, some small volume from Japan, and previously from New Caledonia. Projects for the battery market are currently mostly Indonesian and all laterite. Some of them are post-2025 projects, but it could come earlier. So this is the timing, 2021 until 2023. You could see that a lot of your Indonesian mines from their HPAL process can actually give you that base case for your nickel production. And then these are the other potential projects that could be assumed after 2025, mostly Indonesia's Vale, PNG, MCC, Australia's Sunrise, China, Jinzhuan. All of these companies are expected to supply your nickel for the next 5 to 10 years. At least half of them, about 305 here, may never get built, but many other Indonesian projects are still possible if the first ones are successful. So all of these 2025 may still need more funding, but this one is already with the timing. Large numbers of proposed HPAL projects and 2 NPI to matte precursor projects, ready or already 1 to 2 years late. Use of nickel in batteries are growing strongly even beyond 2020. It's a beneficiary of the strong electric vehicle growth, increased nickel use per battery. The amount of nickel per car could on average grow from 20 kilos up to 40 to 50 kilos by 2025 to 30. That depends on an uptake of NCM 811. That is a battery. You could always see NCM means nickel, copper, manganese. 811 means 80% nickel, 10% copper, and then 10% manganese. So it depends on whether there will be NCM. Our base case is 2025, we've got 510,000 nickel and then 1 million metric tons of nickel by 2030. Demand would recover, raising our demand as a result of all the new electric vehicle policies. There's a role for all the battery tech, particularly LFPs, that's lithium, something phosphate, and hydrogen fuel cells. Their growth is not necessarily bad for nickel. So a lot of battery technologies are happening. Take note that there are solid state lithium battery that may not need as much nickel. So because we know that there is a supply demand function here, the thing about the future is that it's still happening. So we're not necessarily we are quite sure how much nickel per car would be needed in the next 10 years, but this is something to be understanding of. The forecast for EVs is very strong, putting a serious pressure on the nickel industry. This is what we're talking about, the class 1, class 2, stainless steel, others, and batteries. So the growth is huge in the battery segment. So the rapid growth in nickel demand post-2025 can put the nickel market, in fact, into a shortage by 2030 for class 1 and class 2. Several scenarios can play out on the supply-demand side. There could be a continued ramp-up in Indonesia and recovery in the Philippines, which is a class 2 stainless steel, class 2 type of a nickel, leaching of HPAL, high-grade ferronickel, to produce that class 1 nickel. Lower stainless steel usage can maximize the substitution and recycling improvements from low nickel from stainless steel scenario. Now, the battery demand impact of 220,000 deficit is a result of supply limits, low nickel from the battery scenario. So this is what we're taking a look at and what the drivers are. So nickel is a secret driver for the entire battery revolution. It has been said by Elon Musk that nickel has a vital role. If our cells, we're talking about the human being, we should be called nickel graphite, because primarily the cathode is nickel and the anode side is the graphite with silicon oxide. While lithium and cobalt are recognized very early as a winner from the lithium-ion batteries, they are certainly not only the beneficiaries of this entire green shift. It takes a lot to move the needle on the nickel market because, of course, of that demand and excess supply. But take note that because batteries are going to grow, we're talking about so many types of batteries. This is the LCA. 15 kilos, NMC, LMO NMC, and then the LFP doesn't use a lot of nickel. So BYD doesn't use a lot of nickel. Your Chevrolet and Bolt Leaf, those things, and then your Teslas. It's being used here. So nickel is the most important metal by mass in lithium-ion battery cathodes. So there's a lot of technology happening in the next 7 years. I heard about the solid-state battery, which will not necessitate a lot of nickel use cases. Even more importantly, the future battery chemistries, they're saying will have more nickel, not less. Why more nickel? So, of course, there are so many technologies, by the way. According to UBS, says here that for NMC cathode by the Chevy Bolt, it's leaning heavily on nickel. Why more nickel? Because it's optimized to increase your energy density while reducing the total raw material cost. These improvements would help make each kilowatt hour of battery storage capacity more cost competitive to manufacture. So from a component perspective, they see it increasing. Now, impact on the nickel market. So how much will the nickel market be affected will depend largely on how fast the EV adoption and penetration will be for the next foreseeable 10 years. So electric vehicles would be a renaissance for the nickel market. So it's primarily currently produced for production is use case for stainless steel. But what could be the bigger size? It's the EV penetration in the next 10 years. If it's 1% to 6% to 10% to 100% in the foreseeable 20 to 30 years. So in a hypothetical scenario wherein Chevy Bolts make up 100% of car demand, it says that nickel demand would more than double. This doesn't account even for just changing battery ratios either. So assuming that it's just a stagnant 15 kilos per car, that would trigger an overall global nickel supply deficit. So I took a look at the 1970 to 2019. It says here that Indonesia is one of the top nickel producing country, followed by your Philippines, and then you've got Russia, New Caledonia, Canada, Australia, China, Guatemala, Brazil, Cuba. So we are actually in the top 5, Indonesia, Philippines. So let's talk about that for now. In terms of the Philippines, who is one of the top miners, it's none other than Nickel Asia. It's a Philippine mining company based in BGC and Taguig, primarily mines lateritic nickel ore. So the subsidiaries are the following: Rio Tuba Nickel Mining Corporation, Mindoro Geothermal Power Corporation, Coral Pearl Developments Limited, Cordillera Exploration Company, Samar Nickel Mining Resources Corp, Cagdianao Mining Corporation, Hinatuan Mining Corporation, La Costa Shipping and Light Rich Corporation, Dinapigem Mining Corporation, Taganito Mining Corporation. There is also a power which is EPI. This is saprolite and this is limonite. You could find this in the website of Nickel Asia. So I took it from them. They're saying high grades of nickel can be found 1.7% on this type, the saprolite. Mid-grade, 1.3 to 1.6%. High ferrous content on this one, limonite, 0.6 to 0.9% nickel, 48 to 50% ferrous. Low grade, it's 1.2% nickel and greater than 30% Fe. So ferrous metal. Fe is iron, so nickel and iron. All right, so Rio Tuba. Yeah, I hope my periodic table elements is still correct. It's been a while since I studied chemistry, since high school and college. Supplied by Rio Tuba, Taganito, Cagdianao, Hinatuan. So these are your major miners. Sold to where? Japan for the smelters and to China. So they are the raw materials and then we sell it. Now, this is also Philippines. You sell it to CBNC and PHPAL, wherein we can actually refine it for a higher grade class 1. The final products, this one is ferronickel. This is ferronickel high and medium grade NPI with a 10 to 12% nickel content. This is the low grade NPI with only 1 to 3% nickel content. And this is the nickel cobalt sulfide with 55% nickel content. For use in where? So you could see that these are the production. The pricing method is to negotiate the dollar per wet metric ton. And this is the LME nickel price, which is that one that you just saw, the $16,000. This is the one that's more important. Right now, for Nickel Asia, take note that it's 8,393 kWMT for kilos of metric tons. And then that would be 45% of their 2019 volume and 22% of their revenues. This is also where they're very huge at. They're selling it to China smelters. It's being used in stainless steel. These are all used in stainless steel. These are all your negotiated kilowatts and the percentage of volume and the percentage of revenue. So basically stainless steel and a lot of this nickel content. Let's watch first a corporate marketing video. It's just 4 minutes. Let's see all these mines of Nickel Asia in the Philippines. to share this to all of you guys because, as you could see, Nickel Asia is more than mining, and it's actually something that I want people, especially the Filipinos, to be proud upon. That's why instead of doing that Philippine market update, which is not an evergreen content, we wanted our viewers of Awesome 10X to get to learn more about the companies that they might be trading, but they should actually learn to appreciate and, in fact, maybe own. So Nickel Asia is the largest nickel lateritic ore in the world. 1 million trees have been planted from 2008 to 2018, and they've always never stopped contributing to the Philippines, not just in terms of jobs, revenues, but really they've been a beacon of excellence, recognized worldwide for responsible mining practices. I'll show to you later all the livelihood community projects and how they've actually not just become simply a mining company, but actually they have a growing interest as well in solar. So we're going to discuss this today. We are a diversified natural resources development company. You could see this straight from the website. We are the Philippines' largest producer of lateritic nickel ore, a growing interest as well in renewable energy development. Beginning in Rio Tuba mining 50 years ago, we now have 4 nickel mines, a fifth in the preparatory stages of development. We export saprolite and limonite to our customers in China and Japan, which is processing our ore to produce that ferronickel and nickel pig iron that's being used for the production of stainless steel. Our Rio Tuba operation in Palawan is the exclusive supplier of limonite ore to Coral Bay Nickel Corporation, which is commissioned in 2005 as the Philippines' very first hydrometallurgical nickel processing plant, capacity of 24,000 of contained nickel and 1,500 tons of contained cobalt per year in the form of mixed nickel cobalt sulfide. We have a 10% equity interest in CBNC. Now, our Taganito operation in Claver, Surigao del Norte is also the exclusive supplier of limonite ore to Taganito HPAL Nickel Corporation, THPAL, commissioned in 2013, built at a cost of $1.7 billion. This is the Philippines' second hydrometallurgical nickel processing plant. It has an expanded capacity of 36,000 tons of contained nickel, 3,000 tons of contained cobalt per year. We also have a 10% equity interest in THPAL. Both CBNC and THPAL are part of the global supply chain in the production of batteries for the electric vehicle market. Hinatuan Mining in Taganaan, Surigao del Norte, and Cagdianao Mining in Valencia, Dinagat Islands are our 2 other nickel operations. Our 5th operation, Dinapigue Mining in Isabela, is in the preparatory stages of development. We've got other properties for nickel, copper, and gold in various stages of exploration. We've also established a foothold in the renewable energy business through Emerging Power Inc. This is Joben SQM Inc., a wholly owned subsidiary of EPI. It operates already a 32-megawatt solar plant in Subic Bay, Freeport, which we want to expand to 100 megawatts by 2021. Our another wholly owned subsidiary, Montelago Geothermal Power Corporation, has geothermal project service contracts in Mindoro and Biliran. EPI recently secured 25 megawatts of medium to long-term solar power sales agreements. We are also partnering with Tibea Company Limited of China, a leading manufacturer of power equipment, for an equity investment that will finance our solar generation capacity. Currently, we have an 86.29% equity interest in EPI. So as you can see, this is the solar renewable energy component that Nickel Asia is also growing inside their own business. We are highly conscious for corporate responsibility towards our people and the planet. As you can see, we've been recognized not just in the Philippines, but abroad. During the 66th Annual National Mine Safety and Environment Conference in Baguio City just last November, our Cagdianao operations were already bestowed the Presidential Mineral Industry Environmental Award, the highest recognition for environmental excellence in the industry. 1 month later, our Rio Tuba operation was again recognized by the ASEAN with the runner-up honors for best practices in sustainable mineral development for the mineral mining category during the second ASEAN Mineral Awards in Bangkok, Thailand. With a global economy facing COVID-19 challenges, we soon will pass this and we are on the right track as one of the best Philippine enterprises focused not just on the expectation of the Filipinos, but the global investors for environmental and social responsibility for transparent corporate governance. Nickel outlook. We know that electric vehicles is going to increase from currently about 100,000 tons, perhaps 500,000 metric tons by 2025. As was the case, 2019 saw a deficit leading to a firmer LME average nickel price compared to the prior years. The deficits will continue because of that acceleration of an Indonesian export ban. On the other hand, also the coronavirus had taken its toll in the global economy, leading to some shipment delays, syempre because they are shipping to China. It's very heartening to note that we haven't experienced outbreaks of this virus in our host communities so far. We have put in place stringent protocols. In the long term, demand for EVs is expected to grow, and that is the consensus, which means that we will accelerate at an even faster pace beyond 2025. Now, how about our power play? We are expected to generate 100 megawatts. Strong GDP growth over the years has made Philippine power sector quite having a capacity issue. Aging coal plants, depletion of gas reserves respect to Malampaya, and the limited pipeline of large-scale generating plants beyond 2020. As expected, we need to power up the future with renewable. Department of Energy's renewable portfolio standards requires distribution utilities to procure more renewable energy. Our target is to achieve 35% share in the supply mix. So far, we generated 63 million pesos in cash from operations on our 32 megawatt solar plants, the very first power sales agreement to balance revenues from the fixed and the WESM-based sources. We are also partnered with a leading Chinese power equipment manufacturer for this solar business, contributing to financing, engineering, design, and development of our solar plant. We want to expand to actually 100 megawatts by 2021. A message from the President, Mr. Martin Zamora. This is in their 2020 December press releases. I've got to admit, the pandemic coming as it did during my first full year as a CEO, these were days when I feared that I would look back at my first year and feel sad about what had transpired. But my fears, although brief and understandable, were proven to be unfounded. This crisis brought out the best in all of us individually and as an organization. Any CEO in my shoes couldn't have wished for a better team to work with when pushed against the wall. Philippines, allow me to cite Emmanuel Manny Samson and Roberto Bertrias for their years of dedicated service to the NIKL Asia Group. And it's an appropriate reason why the Christmas bonuses will be released to all of our loved ones, etc. It's happy to end the year even in a positive note for NIKL Asia. These are Martin Zamora, the Executive Director, the President and CEO, and is the Chairman of the Board of Directors, Mr. Jerry Brimo. NAC has always been all about raising the bar. From its foundation to the present, as you can see, it has become the serving benchmark of the industry. So when Manny Zamora and Jerry Brimo teamed up to make NIKL Asia public 2010, that would be 10, 11 years ago, our mission has become to become the Philippines' largest, most successful nickel producer, and together with our 4 operating nickel mines, we've established 2 nickel high-pressure acid leach HPAL processing plants. Take note, the ones that you saw a while ago, HPAL plants, those were all in Indonesia. These are the only nickel processing plants in the country today, 2 of the only few successful HPAL plants in the world. Along the way, our company has earned recognition. We could see 11 years. Even the biennial meeting of ASEAN ministers for mining has honored Rio Tuba the honor of being the very first awardee for the best practices in sustainable mineral development, something that I think all of the Filipinos have to acknowledge and be proud of. Establish a track record of responsible operations. Our achievements would not have been possible without Cherry Brimo, who headed the company since he came on board in 2008. So 2008 till 2020, that was Mr. Jerry Brimo, the first 12 difficult years. From the successful IPO to the production growth to the burnishing of our reputation, not just here but also abroad, NEC has helped steer the industry throughout all the difficult years, even under the previous administration. The mantle of CEO has now passed to Manny Zamora. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's take a look at the NEC Livelihood Community Projects. Okay, let's go to the NEC website. This is the NEC. You could learn a lot from their own website. I'll go to the NAC TV. Go to the business. We're gonna talk. I know that it's supposedly 30 minutes, but I think I'm running 40 minutes. Let's just show to you just 5 minutes, and then we'll go through another part 2 next week. This is NEC. You could see Mr. Martin Zamora, welcome. We are able to rehabilitate 390 hectares of land. I think I want to share to you how responsible this miner is. Rio Tuba Mining, all of the awards, take note, guys. This is an amazing company in terms of not just annual reports. Next week, we'll dig with the numbers, but I want to see you to see from mining to a forest. Mother Nature gives us the minerals. We got to give her back a forest. See how we are making a difference. Let's watch this one, Livelihood Community Project, so that everyone's proud to be a Filipino and what NIKL is doing for the country and the world.
We believe that responsible mining must not be an option. Responsible mining must be the standard. Aside from the employing people as main men in our operations, it's also a priority for us to provide sustainable livelihood projects to the rest of the diligent people of our communities. The income they acquire from livelihood projects will keep their households together. Families won't have to be separated.
Therefore, they have peace of mind. The Gamawa Fish Cage Project aims to provide income and food security to fishermen of Claver Town, Surigao del Norte. From constructions of fish cages, skills development, fish propagation, and regular proper maintenance, the fishermen can always rely on Taganito Mining for support.
Yung nag-edad pa ako ng 14 anyos, na-discuss po ako ng dinamita kasi maliit pa lang ako ng nagat ng isda na. Hanggang ngayon ako nag-asawa na, ng isda pero hindi ni illegal. Gamawa, kagmayng mananagat sa wangki. Kaming lahat ng membro, lubusang nagpapasalamat sa kanila, lalo na sa SDMP ng Taganito Mining Corporation.
Mining and agriculture can indeed coexist. Rio Tuba NIKL believes that the women of Barangay Sarong, Bataraza, Palawan can also do what men can do, such as providing the needs of their families. This while being good wives at home and mothers to their children.
Kailan po anak nila?
10. Gano'n lang kita ng lalaki. Katulad ko, wala na rin asawa. Siyempre, obligasyon ko rin magsama kung sa mga livelihood na gano'n. Kung anong mga pwedeng pagkakitaan. Una sa lahat, natuto kami magtanim, natuto kami kung paano maglagay ng abono. Lahat-lahat ng mga proseso na tutunan namin. Makagulay pa kami ng sariwa. Makatulong pa sa aming mga anak na nag-aaral.
It is important for us to give communities livelihood projects that are effective and sustainable. That's why planning through research and development is important prior to implementation. Soft Shell Crab Farm Project of Hinatuan Mining has this foundation.
Ito turn over po namin sa Comrel. Sila din po ang magpipili ng mga community na maaari pong mabigyan ng ganitong klase na hanap buhay na makatulong po sa kanila na extra income.
Ito yung aming stock sa tray, sa crab tray. And then, after 3 weeks, ito na yung difference niya. Ito, lumabas sa shell. So, mas bigger na siya.
Almost everything we need to survive comes from mining. Mining is inevitable, therefore, it has to be done responsibly. The responsible way. That is how we do mining at NIKL Asia.
So guys, as you well know, I think everybody here, I want to appreciate a few things. When I study a company, I try to really understand it, where it came from, what it has done, not just about the numbers, but the company that impacts our communities. So as you could see, this mining company has done so much livelihood projects. The Gamawa Fish Cage Project, the Soft Shell Crab Farm, the Rio Tuba Nickel Palawan helps women do vegetable farms and agriculture. These livelihood community projects are able to generate community income, food security. And I think that when you see that NIKL Asia as a company is a responsible miner, helping us through a very everyday use case. You might be eating with a spoon and fork. You never knew that that spoon and fork actually contained nickel. So I hope that today's company presentation help you dig deep and understand the company that you own. And I will try to actually help you in the next few. So what we'll do in the Philippines is actually every single week, every Monday, you'll get deep dives. So instead of asking the prices up and down, which won't really give you an evergreen content, what we want you to understand is while you can do charting, which seems to be the easier part, we understand that Filipinos do not know how to fundamentally understand a company. Most Filipinos do not dig deep into the annual reports. And that's the reason why they know nothing about a company, even if they're already 10 years in the market or even more. So I hope that every single day you could appreciate, like, and share our company profiles. Now for questions, this is already beyond the topic. I think that let me just address your questions. So we won't really be doing market updates because I think that market updates are, well, we think that the Filipinos will get more value in our channel if we actually give deep dives rather than market updates on news. So example, today, yes, there's news on PNP and anything. So I'm not sure, maybe I'll see whether we'll do an update on specific market updates that are just charts or something like deep dives. I hope that you like our Monday presentation. And as you could see, it's an evergreen content. When we talk about a company, it's about 10 years in the making. So if you believe in the secular trends on BEVs, battery electric vehicles, and we'll do a part 2 on what NIKL Asia is doing. But I hope that you tried to understand and see a company, the sustainability reports and the annual reports. Part 2 comes next week. Okay, bye-bye. See you again. Every Monday is a deep dive class on Philippine companies.